Balinese is not Indian book. Section 10. Santo Saba works. Made as a discourse to scientists based on academic studies in an effort to restore the true history of Indonesia. Get to know Lord Shiva. God Shiva. He is the embodiment of the nature of tamas, centrifugal inertia. Tendency towards cessation or fusion. The real meaning of Shiva is on whom the universe is asleep after annihilation and before the next cycle of creation. Everyone who is born must die. Everything that is produced must be separated and removed. This is a law that cannot be broken. The principle that causes this separation, the force behind this destruction is Shiva. Shiva is much more than that. The separateness of the universe ends at the highest reduction, becoming infinite emptiness, the substratum of all existence, from which repeatedly arise this seemingly infinite universe. Hindus, especially Hindus in India, believe that Lord Shiva has characteristics that match his character, namely, four-armed, each carrying trident, pine, prayer beads, genitry, jug. Three-eyed, trinetra. On the headdress there is an ardha-chandra, crescent moon, a tiger skin belt, a cobra snake's neck ornament. By Balinese people, Lord Shiva is worshipped at Puradalem, as a god who returns humans to their elements, becoming Panka Maha Buddha. In the Pengitar Dewata Nawa Sangha, Nawa Dewata, Lord Shiva occupies the middle direction with 5 colors. He is armed with Padma and rides Nandini's ox. Sacred characters I and yes. He was worshipped at Besaki Temple. In other Indonesian traditions, Lord Shiva is sometimes referred to by the name Batara Guru. The three linga is a sacred symbol as a means of worshipping God in its manifestation as Sang Hyang Tripurusa. God is worshipped as Sang Hyang Tripurusa in his function as the great soul of the universe. Shiva as the soul of Bur Loka. Sada Shiva as a great soul. Buwa Loka and Paramasiva as the soul of Swaloka. The aim of worshipping God as the great soul Shiva of Bur Loka is to attain liking without Wali Duaka. As Sada Shiva to achieve happiness that has no root and no end. As Parama Shiva to achieve immaterial happiness that cannot be imagined in its real form and its characteristics cannot be given. This is stated in the sacred literature of Rihaspati Tattva. One of the highlights of Lord Shiva's existence is that he is everywhere, in all corners of the wind and on riders. In the east he is Ishwara. To the southeast he is Mahisora. To the south he is Brahma. To the southwest he is Rudra. To the west he is Mahadeva. In the northwest he is Sankara. In the north he is Vishnu. In the northeast he is Sambhu and in the middle of it is Shiva. As Sang Hyang. In the east he is Kala Petak white. In the south it is Kala Bang Mara. In the west it is Kala Gading yellow. In the north it is Kala Rang black, and in the middle it is the Manjawarna Kala. The ultimate reality is called Shiva, which is infinite consciousness, eternal, unchanging, formless, independent, omnipresent, omnipotent, 1 second, without beginning, without cause, without spot, self-existent, always free, always pure and perfect. He is not limited by time, which is infinite happiness and intelligence, free from defects, omnipotent and omniscient. Lord Shiva is a god of love, whose gifts are limitless, his love is infinite and is both savior and teacher. He is always involved in the deliverance of spirits from material bondage. He wore the form of a teacher who came from his deep love for mankind. He wills that everything wants about him and reaches Shiva who is full of happiness. He takes care of the activity of the personal spirit and assists him in his advancing movements. He frees personal spirits from bondage or bondage. Lord Shiva permeates the whole world with his Sakti and works through his Sakti. Sakti is the basic energy of Lord Shiva, who is really the body of Lord Shiva. It is likened to a potter as the main cause of a pot. The tongta and the wheel are the instrumental causes while the clay is the material cause of the pot. Likewise Lord Shiva is the first cause of the universe, and when it is an instrumental cause and Maya is a material cause. Shiva has 2 aspects, namely 1 aspect. He is the highest, without change and Sat Siddhananda, who are the Samwits. Niskala Shiva is Nirguna Siva, who is not connected with creative magic. In another aspect, it changes as a universe. The cause of this change is Shiva Tattva. Sakti Tattva is the first dynamic aspect of Brahman. This Shiva Tattva and Sakti Tattva cannot be separated. Shiva has 8 characteristics according to Shiva Siddhanta's view, namely, independent, pure, self-knowledge, free from mala, generous abundance, omnipresent, and happy. According to Shiva Siddhanta, God is the operative cause of the universe and the reality is the instrumental cause, Maya is the material cause. From this virtual world evolves, and souls are provided with the locations of instruments and objects of knowledge. Shiva has 5 functions, namely 1. Tirodhana, obscuring. 2. Srsti, creation. 3. Sthiti, maintenance. 4. Samhara, destruction, and 5. Anugraha, gift giver. Shiva hides the truth from souls and projects this world in order to save souls through his grace. In fact, the consciousness of Paramasiva, Sadasiva and Shiva is actually one and is called the reality essence of Shiva. Shiva can be divided into 3 levels as to show the presence or absence and the size of the virtual influence. Shiva loses his powers, sanctity and freedom due to virtual influence, so the consciousness essence of Shiva is called Atma, which is the soul that exists in every human being. Atma means enchanted consciousness. The word Maya means delusion. The unreality of Paramasiva nature can be explained that God is unthinkable, pure, eternal, infinite, fills all, the soul of all souls. He has no nature, empty, sunya. It is the highest transcendent consciousness. God in the form of Paramasiva is unthinkable, so it is called Nirguna Brahman. Sadasivatatva is Paramasivatatva who has been influenced by Maya so that he has use, magic and power. Guna is his own law of omnipotence. Because of that, Sadasiva still has power over his magic. In this state he is called Sivaswayapara, a Paramasiva who has become one with his magic, so that he can create, utpatti, maintain, sthiti, and fuse pralina, the universe and its contents. Sadasiva is his essence of active consciousness. His active consciousness is Sarvajnana and Sarvakaryakarta. Sadasiva is Lord Shiva who is attributed the title Saguna. That is, he who is all-powerful, knowing, perfect, powerful, and working. It is by this attribute that the existence of God is known. God in the form of Sadasiva in carrying out his omnipotence is assisted by 3 things, namely, guna, sakti, swabhava. The essence of worshipping Lord Shiva is to achieve happiness that does not turn to sorrow. Worshipping God as a Sadasiva will achieve happiness that has no beginning and no end. Worshipping God as Paramasiva achieves an immeasurable bliss that cannot be described. God in the form of Sadashiva has Sakti which is called Kadu Sakti, which is the 4 powers and features of Lord Sadashiva both physically and mentally. As for what is meant by Kadu Sakti, namely, 1. Vibhu Sakti is also called Udaprota, which is present in everything but the state is not affected by anything and remains pure in between. 2. Prabhu Sakti that is to control everything so that everything is under his control. 3. Jnana Sakti is the eternal source of knowledge so that he is omniscient. 4. Kriya Sakti, which is to be able to do all the work perfectly. God in the form of Sadashiva has a swabhava named Astaswarya which means 8 omnipotence and the privileges of God. As for what is meant, namely, 1. Anima. Atom, small, so that God can permeate all objects and places. 2. Lagima. Light so it is easy to float in space. 3. Mahima. So great and great that it becomes respected. 4. Prapti. Completely successful so that what is desired can be achieved free from the law of karma. 5. Prakamya. All his wishes can come true. 6. Isatwa. Most controlling RTA. 7. Wasitwa. Almighty. 8. Yatrakamawasayatwa. Whatever one wants and wherever it is immediately successful. According to Saiva Siddhanta, Shiva is the ultimate and ultimate reality, omniscient, unbound and present everywhere. He is Padi, most importantly being and the highest God. Shiva himself is the efficient cause of all creation, evolution, maintenance, secrecy and disconnection. He brings forth the world and their beings through his dynamic power, Shakti. Jivas are individual beings or souls. They are not the same as Shiva. But they are made from that same essence. According to Saiva Siddhanta, Shiva is the same as souls but also apart from the souls. The number of souls remains in the whole. Their number cannot be increased or decreased. They may change shape but their number remains. Thus in Saiva Siddhanta there is a fine distinction between souls and God. The difference is not in their essence but in their constitution. Their relationship with Shiva is not a state of oneness but equality. Because Shiva and Jivas are different but also the same in essence. If you observe it, it turns out that Hinduism in Indonesia is a Hindu religion that worships Lord Shiva as the highest god. Sanghyang Widi Wasa is a very common title for God. Batara Shiva is Sanghyang Widi himself. Batara Shiva is adored by Indonesians. He is worshipped as Trimurti, namely, Brahma, Vishnu and Iswara, as Panka Brahma, namely, Sadhya, Sadyajata, Bhamadeva, Tatpurusa, Agora and Isana as Dewata Nawa Sangha namely, Mahavira, Brahma, Rudra, Mahadeva, Sankara, Vishnu, Sambhu and Shiva. Gong Besi is a group of texts that contain Shivastic teachings. In this manuscript, it is stated that Batara Dalem deserves to be adored wholeheartedly, full of sincere sincerity. In every worship, Ida Batara Dalem can be presented, Utpeti Puja, Distanakan, Stati Puja, and returned, Pralina Puja. The main devotional offering before Ida Batara Dalem causes one to gain inner and outer glory, and in the end they will attain to the Loka heaven or Shiva Loka. Ida Batara Dalem is Batara Guru or Lord Shiva himself as Ida Sanghang Widi with all his manifestations. When Batara Dalem was in the field as protector of the peasants and all those in the fields, he was worshipped as Dwi Uma. In Jinung or rice barn he is worshipped as Batari Shri. Then in a vessel or rice bowl Pulu Ida Batara Dalem was worshipped by Sanghyang Patra Saraswati. In the pot for rice or food, he is called Sanghyang Trimerta. Then at the Kemimitan Kemulan studio, which is a family holy place, Ida Batara Dalem is worshipped as Sanghyang Aku Katar Boga. I am male, female, and sissy. So I became a human being, named I was Sanghyang Accusation or Sanghyang Tungal, in his booth. He is also called Sanghyang Atma. At the Kemulan right is the father namely Sang Pratma Paratma. At the left Kemulan is mother, Siwatma. In the middle Kemulan is himself or his body, namely the Holy Spirit who becomes mother and father, later returning to Dalem to become Sanghyang Tungal. Ida Batara Dalem is Sanghyang Paramawisaza, because all good feelings, pain, health, hunger and so on are his source. He is the origin of life, he maintains this universe, and he is the master of death. In water, light, air and akasa, nothing can exceed him. So he was called Sanghyang Pamutaring Jagat. The meaning of the word heaven loka or Shiva loka. Surga loka means happiness and inner and outer happiness in a place that is lasting or eternal. Shiva loka means palace or stana of Lord Shiva as a manifestation of God. Heaven loka or Shiva loka means to get inner and outer happiness in a place that is lasting or lasting on God's side. In connection with worshipping devotional service, worship, before him, it is best to know his name or nickname. Due to his omnipotence as creator, preserver and fuser, he is called by many names, according to his function and place of residence. When he was Ida Batara Dalem at Purapusa, his name was Sanghyang Triyodasa Sakti. When he is at the village temple, Sanghyang Tri Upasedhana is his nickname. At Bail Aging Temple, he is worshipped as Sanghyang Bhagawati. At the intersection of the main road, he was worshipped as Sanghyang Katar Buwana. When he took shelter at the junction of the highway it was called Sanghyang Sapu Jagat. Shiva is Prakash, the light of luminosity and Jnan, omniscience, all that he knows. Prakash also underlines Shiva's transcendence and equipoise in the state of transcendence. Saiwa sect. Shiva devotees. As previously discussed in the history of sects in Bali, the next attempt will be to provide more in-depth information about the Saiwa sect. In fact, in Bali, the Saiwa sect does not exist, all that remains is the Shiva Siddhanta sect, while the other branches of the god Shiva cult have merged all of them in the Shiva Siddhanta sect. Hindus from the Shiva sect believe that God is Shiva. One form of Shiva worship performed by Pastor Shiva is by chanting a mantra called the Dasa Shiva Chess mantra, which is the 14 forms of Shiva. This mantra is used to gain a strong and holy divine influence and to get happiness at all times. Noetic. Pastor Shiva who chants and absorbs the Chess Dasa Shiva mantra wants to place Shiva in his body, himself starting from the lower part of the body to the upper part of the body, namely 1. Om Ang Prasada Kala Siwaya Nama, for right leg. 2. Om Ang Stati Kala Siwaya Nama, for the left foot. 3. Omang Kalakutha Siwaya Nama, for stomach. 4. Omang Maha Suksma Shiva Yanama, for navel. 5. Omang Suksma Siwaya Nama, for the heart. 6. Omang Antakala Siwaya Nama, for the right hand. 7. Omang Adikala Siwaya Nama, for the left hand. 8. Omang Parama Siwaya Nama, for the right eye. 9. Omang Ati Suksma Siwaya Nama, for the left eye. 10. Omang Suksma Tara Siwaya Nama, for the right ear. 11. Omang Suksma First Shiva Yanama, for the left ear. 12. Omang Sada Siwaya Nama, for the sidelines of the eyebrows. 13. Omang Parama Siwaya Nama, for the tip of the nose. 14. Omang Sunya Siwaya Nama, for the crown. The adherents of this sect are very optimistic about the unanimity of Lord Shiva's power, because he is believed to be able to transform into various forms of maturity that illustrate his great power. His powers include determining the life and death of humans, and his power is the highest among the gods. In the early days of Hinduism, Shiva was never praised by people like Vishnu. As a sign of his power, this god is described in a fantastic way with 4 hands. Whenever he is Shiva, the supreme god, Maheshwara, then no god or can defeat his power. Whenever he is transforming into the god supreme guru, Shiva is an old man with a beard who is pious and likes to guide people towards a happy life. As a characteristic of his character as a teacher, he is represented in the form of a person carrying a pitcher, a broomstick pine, and a prayer beads akshamala. But when he is transforming into Mahakala, then his character and attitude are described as a wild giant who corrupts what is desired and is cruel. Therefore, as a sign on Krota, his anger, is given a symbol of Parasu Kanpak, Trisula, javelin with 3 eyes, and Fesu, net. The name Shiva has the power to eliminate all ignorance. If that darkness gets light from Hyang Siwa, then Buddhist consciousness will be born, which is needed every moment in this life. Shiva as one of the aspects or manifestations of Sanghyang Widiwasa, we dissolve the darkness that is blocking Buddhi and receive God's holy light. If you always get the holy light of God, then you will strengthen your mind or mana so you can control your senses or triguna. The word Shiva means those who give good luck, mercy, who are kind, friendly, forgiving, fun, give lots of hope, who are calm, happy, and the like. Monier 1990-1074. Shiva as God Almighty is the remover of the pralaya or pralina aspects of the universe and everything in it. The very feared Shiva was called Rudra, whose voice was booming and terrifying. Shiva who has not been influenced by Maya, various characteristics such as Guna, Sakti and Swabhava, is called Parama Shiva. In this state, he is also called Asintyarupa or Niskala and is intangible. The term Shiva comes from the Sanskrit language, which in its adjective means noble, and in its masculinity noun form means god or god, Sumawa, 1990-301. In Bhagavad-gītā 3:42, it is stated that one will have a clear mind, if the pure Atman or soul always shines on the Buddha or the realm of consciousness. Buddhi consciousness controls the mana mind. Mana mastered the senses. Such a structural and ideal state of mind is very difficult to come by. It must always be endeavored by awakening belief in God as the eradication of the darkness of the soul. Siwa Ratri, Ratri is also often written by Latri, is a night to focus on Sanghyang Siwa in order to gain awareness in order to avoid dark thoughts. Therefore, Shiva Ratri is more accurately called Night of Consciousness, or Night of Pejagran, not Night of Penance, as often interpreted by people who have not studied religion. Shiva is one of the 3 main gods, Trimurti, in Hinduism. The other 2 gods are Brahma and Vishnu. In the teachings of Hinduism, Lord Shiva is the god of fusion, whose task is to dissolve everything that is obsolete and does not deserve to be in the mortal world anymore, so that it must be returned to its origin. Lord Shiva has other names, namely Jagatpati, Nilakantha, Parameswara, Rudra, Trinetra. Armed with Trisula, with Wahana Lembu Nandini. He has the power of including Dui Parvati, Dui Uma, Dui Durga, Dui Kali. Lord Shiva is a part deity of the Trimurti, who is in charge of absorption. Shiva Linga in Shiva Siddhanta. Making Shiva Linga is actually an application of the Pasupada sect, which then merges into one in the concept of Shiva Siddhanta or Saiva Siddhanta. In Balinese literature, there are many teachings of Shiva Siddhanta. The Saiwa Siddhanta teachings in Bali are a continuation of the Saivagama sect's teachings which entered Indonesia around the 4th century. However, with the combination of Saiva Siddhanta concepts, Mahayana Buddhism, Trimurti and Vaishnava understanding, the Indonesian Saiva Siddhanta concept was born. The concept of Indonesian Saiva Siddhanta teachings is more guided by the concept of local teachings and teachings that have developed previously, such as the Saiva concept, Vaishnava concept, Tantra concept, Trimurti concept, even Mahayana Buddhist concept, all of which are combined to produce concepts that are poured into Lontar. Lontar, which later became the basis for the Saiva Siddhanta Indonesia concept. The concepts in question are Buwana Kosa, Raspati Tadwa, Tadwa Nyana, Ganapati Tadwa, Buwana Sang Sepa, Shiva Tadwa Purana, Sanghyang Mahanyana, and so on. Of the many literatures in Bali, according to the source, then it is very rich in philosophical values, especially with the teachings of Saiva Siddhanta. Shiva Siddhanta places Lord Shiva as the ultimate reality. The soul or personal spirit is the same essence as Shiva, although not identical. There is also Padi, God Pesa, binder, as well as several teachings that are expressed in Tadwa as principles in the reality of universality. One of the sects belonging to the Saiva sect that is very close to Linga media worship is the Pasupata sect, which also places Shiva as the highest reality. This sect has differences with Saiva Siddhanta, but it is part of Saiva Siddhanta itself because Saiva Siddhanta is a combination or decay of all the sects in Bali. The difference with Saiva Siddhanta is in the way of worship. The way of worshipping the Pasupata sect is to use the phallus as a symbol of the place where Lord Shiva descended remained. Thus, the worship of the phallus as a symbol of Shiva is a characteristic feature of the Pasupata sect, which is a sect of worshipping Shiva by using the phallus as a means of worshipping Sanghyang Shiva. The phallus comes from the Sanskrit language which means sign, feature, sign, distinctive character, evidence, information, clues, male genital symbols, especially the Shiva phallus in the form of a stone pillar, a statue of a god, a point of worship, a center point, center, axis, axis. While the general understanding found in Balinese, that the linga is identified with linga, which means a seat, this meaning does not deviate much from the view of the religious community in Bali. It is said that the phallus is Lord Shiva's linga. The oldest clues about the phallus are found in the teachings of Rudrasiwa that have been found in almost all Hindu scriptures. Even in various studies of the people by world archaeologists, it is known that the concept of Shiva has existed in the Harappa civilization, which is a pre-Vedic civilization with the discovery of a tri-mukha prototype Yajaswara Pasupati Erdhalinga. This is what proves that the teachings of Shiva worship are teachings that have existed earlier than the teachings called Hinduism, in the archipelago. This is the original Dharmic teaching of the ancestors of the Indonesian archipelago, which was brought by the Saka or Arya to 3/4 of the face of the earth, which is called Brahmanism, which then underlies the birth of the Jaina and Hindu Buddhists in India. This teaching reached the land of India in the Mohenjo-Daro civilization. Currently, Shiva teachings are still developing in India with different rituals from their sources in Bali. Shiva on the Harappan civilization. Then in the Indian Valley civilization, according to Hinduism, the phallus is a symbol of fertility. The further development of the worship of the phallus as a symbol of Lord Shiva is found at the center of the temple in Chenidalai in a village in Travancore, according to the opinion of Hindus in India in general that the worship of the phallus is continued to Lord Shiva and his Saktas. In the Linga Purana, the phallus is closely related to the concept of the infinite universe and the omnipotence of God. The phallus on the Linga Purana is a symbol of Lord Shiva, Shiva Linga. All forms are permeated by Lord Shiva and each form is the phallus and Lord Shiva. The Linga Purana and Suwaratri Kalpa books by Mpu Tanakung further reinforce the fact that in the beginning the worship of the phallus was essentially the worship of God Almighty in his form as Shiva. The Puranas provide many descriptions of stories and virtues obtained from Savalinga. Therefore, Savalinga is used as a means as an object of worship. Parts and types of phallus. The meaning of Shiva Linga. Sections and types of Shiva Linga. Linga has very clear parts. The division of the phallus based on its shape consists of the lowest base of the phallus, which is generally a rectangular shape on one side of which there is a carrot or water channel. This part is called yoni. Above the yoni, which is the lower part of the phallus in the shape of a rectangle, is called Brahma Bhaga, the middle part in the shape of an octagon is called Vishnu Bhaga, while the upper part is in the form of a circle called Siva Bhaga. So the form of the phallus uses the concept of Trimurti Brahma, Vishnu, Shiva. The three parts of the phallus can be compared with the conception of Bhur Biwa Swa. The phallus is generally placed on a plinth called a pindika or pitha. The shape of this mat is usually an equilateral rectangle, hexagon, octagon, 12th, round, oval, half circle, 16 square and others. The most common is the rectangular lapik. Regarding the forms and tops of the phallus, there are many varieties, including umbrella-shaped Chatrakara, egg-shaped Kukatandakara, cucumber fruit, Tripushakara, semicircular moon, Ardakandrakara, balloon-shaped Budbuddasadrasa. In Jnana Siddhanta it is stated, Pranalo Brahma Visnus Ca Lingapada Siwar Kaya. Translate. The channels are Brahma and Vishnu and the appearance of the phallus can be considered as the source of Shiva. In Sanskrit, link means water channel, it is seen as the foot or base of the phallus which is equipped with a water channel. By the term linga link then we mean the whole construction which includes the leg and the phallus, so the phallus and the yoni. Then the yoni phallus is related to the tri-purusas, namely Brahma, Vishnu and Shiva, where Shiva is called the phallus, while Brahma and Vishnu are jointly called linkages as the basis, namely yoni. Based on the type, the phallus can be grouped into two parts, among others. Jalalinga and Akalalinga. Jalalinga are movable phallus, meaning that they can be moved from one place to another without reducing the meaning they contain. As for those included in this group of phallus are Marinmaya Linga, is a phallus made of clay, which the process is burned. In the Kamikagama book, it is explained that the making of this phallus comes from white clay in a clean place. The processing process is soil mixed with milk, flour, wheat, sandalwood powder, into a dough after being stored for a while and then shaped according to the provisions, then baked. 1. Lohaja Linga, which is a phallus made of metals, such as gold, silver, copper, ferrous metal, tin and brass. 2. Ratmaja Linga, namely a phallus made of precious stones such as gems, pearls, crystals, emeralds, Waidarya, quartz, blue stones and others. 3. Daruha Linga, which is a phallus made of wood such as Sami, Tinduka, Karnakara, Maduka, Arjuna, Pipala and Udambara wood. In the Kamikagama book, it is also stated that the type of wood used is Kadira, Chandana, Sala, Bilva, Badara, and Dawadara. 4. Ks Hanika Linga, which is a phallus made temporarily. These types of phallus are made from psychotum, rice, concentrated soil, kircha grass, jangari and flowers and rudrasha. Materials and the manufacture of the phallus are closely related to the purpose of worship. The phallus made of gold aims to gain wealth. The phallus made of rice is generally used when worshippers expect food, especially rice. The clay phallus is intended to gain wealth, while the phallus from cow dung is used to eliminate disease. Linga with a base of butter generally gives a happy atmosphere. Phallus devotees who want to have a long life then worship by using a phallus made of flowers. To get the happiness of the phallus which is generally adored are made from the acacia. Ganawan, 2012-8182. Achala Linga. Achala Linga is a phallus that cannot be moved like a mountain as a prayer for the gods and Bhattara Bhattari. In addition, this phallus is usually a large and heavy stone which is difficult to move. Igusti Aging Gde Putra in his book entitled Kudamani, a collection of religious lectures Volume 1, describes the phallus part of the material used. He said that the phallus which is made from noble items such as jewels is Spathika phallus made of gold is called Kanaka Linga and some are even made from cow dung with milk called Homaya Linga. Phallus made from bantan is called Diwadui phallus. What we usually encounter in Indonesia from Bali in particular is the Lingapala, which is a phallus made of stone. Regarding the condition of each type of phallus Gopinatha Rao in his book entitled Elements of Hindu Iconography Volume 2 Part 1 can be explained as follows. 1. Swayambhuva phallus. In mythology, the phallus by itself is not known about its condition on earth, so that by the community the linga is the most holy and the phallus is foremost, Uttamadama. Or so it can be said. Happened by itself. 2. Ganapatya phallus. This phallus is related to Ganesha, Ganapatya linga, which is a phallus associated with the belief made by Gana, a mixture of Lord Shiva, which resembles the shape of a cucumber, lemon or forest apple. 3. Arsha phallus. The phallus made and used by the rishis. It is round in shape with a round top like a peeled coconut. 4. Devaka phallus. Lin, Gga, which has similarities with Ganapatya linga and Arsha linga, only does not have the Brahma Sutra, sash or sacred thread, worn by Brahman. 5. Manusa phallus. The phallus is most commonly found in sacred buildings, because it was directly made by human hands, so it has various shapes. This phallus generally reflects the concept of the tri-bhaga, which is Brahma bhaga, base, Vishnu bhaga, body, and Rudra bhaga, peak. Regarding the length and width, it matches the entrance to the main shrine. Manusa linga is divided into 3 parts, namely, Rudrabhaga upper phallus with a curved cross section, Visnubhaga middle phallus has an 8-sided shape octagonal, and Brahmabhaga lower phallus has a square shape. Hinduism in India and Hinduism in other places, for example in Java and Bali, have no difference in their religious core, which is different only in the outer shell, namely the implementation of the ceremony, while the content and essence remain the same. This is what proves their origin as one from the archipelago. Remember also that nothing in the history of Hindu missionaries in India came to the archipelago. The teachings remain eternal, the essence does not change, only the exterior varies, adapting to the local culture in which the religion develops. This teaching developed in South India and Indonesia, especially in the 7th century. The teachings of Shiva Siddhanta emphasize the worship of the linga with the figures of Trimurti Brahma, Vishnu and Shiva, and Tripurusa Brahma Shiva, Sada Shiva and Shiva. Shiva Siddhanta's teachings about the conception of the Tripurusa or linga are also manifested in the Padmasana building in Bali. It should be noted that the meaning of Tripurusa and Trimurti is different. Because Tripurusa is a painting of God in the sense of a vertical position, top to bottom, where God is symbolized as the ruler of the upper, middle and lower realms Brahma Siva, Sada Siva and Shiva. Meanwhile, Trimurti is a painting of God in a horizontal position, horizontally, or as the ruler of the direction, namely the direction of the sea is Brahma, the direction of the mountain is Vishnu and in the middle is Shiva. So in the conception of belief, linga is a symbol of God's power in creating, maintaining and fusing this world, or God as the ruler of this world. Continues to section 11. By Santo Saba.